Hey everybody, I am so happy to be here with Heather Monahan today. Hey Heather.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Heather is, as I'm sure you all know, a world-renowned speaker, podcaster, author, TEDx stage, and a confidence creator in the world. She brings so much light to all that she does. I mean, I feel like I know her just from seeing her content, and I know many of you feel the same. So, Heather, what a pleasure it is to have you here.
Thanks. That's funny that you say that. I was doing a virtual speech yesterday, and when they introduced me and it was on Zoom, someone said, "I already know you," and they were waving. And I said, you know what? It is true though. Thankfully, because of podcasts, because of social media, if you show up as your real self online, people do already know you. And that's such a powerful tool that we all have at our fingertips.
100%. So you had a very interesting journey to get to where you are. I mean, it wasn't like you woke up and you're like, I'm going to be a speaker today. You had a very storied career in the C-suite. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah. For 20 years, I was in corporate America. I was in the radio business. I was an equity partner. I was an executive vice president of sales. And then ultimately, I became the chief revenue officer at a company that I had been promoted 3 different times. I had been there 14 years. I had more than doubled the company's revenue in my tenure there and had won a lot of awards. And when the CEO I worked for 14 years became ill, he elevated his daughter to replace him. That was 3 years ago now. And she fired me immediately. And I was shocked. It was just shocking.
So I love that you tell that, because to me, it seems like girl on girl crime in the worst way.
Well, sadly, there's a lot of that happens. People just don't talk about it very much. So one of the reasons why it was important for me to share it is I wanted people to know they're not alone. Not only, listen, so many people get fired and there's so much self-worth that we might attach to our career, our job title, our paycheck, right? And I wanted people to know that, hey, I got fired and that doesn't make me a bad person. Doesn't mean I did anything wrong. It was a choice that the company or this woman, the new CEO, didn't want me there anymore. That's her choice, right? But now I can move on. I can rediscover my own confidence and recreate myself, and so can you.
What's amazing is that, looking at that moment, it was like, oh my God, what happened? And looking back 3 years, I mean, I can't speak for you, but I can say it might have been one of the best things that ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it hasn't been easy. That's the one thing that social media is tough, because people just see, oh, I saw your TEDx got promoted to TED. Oh, I saw your podcast is top 200. Oh, I saw this. So they see these great things and people are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's so much work. That's the part when I got fired. I didn't know. It wasn't like someone handed me a roadmap and said, hey, here's where you're going, have a great trip. That would have been easy. Instead, it was just me sitting on my couch crying, saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then every decision I would make was scary because it was new. Write a book. Can I even write a book? Would anyone like the book? Will I be good at this? I don't know. Should I post about it on social media? Is that going to hurt me? Is that embarrassing? Everyone had an opinion. I didn't know what to do. And then I didn't even know that speaking was a business. In my old career, I spoke for free for 20 something years, right? You didn't get paid for that. And I had I just want to go back to, I didn't start day one and say, oh, I'm going to be a great author. I'm going to be a best podcast host. I'm going to be a great speaker and make tons of money. I didn't know any of this. So it's been trials and tribulations, fails and challenges along the way to get to where I am today. And then the pandemic hit and wiped out my speaking business, right? So I had to recreate and reinvent myself yet again. However, the one thing people need to know is it's much easier to do that once you've done it a couple times, which Now I had, right? So I reinvented myself as an author. Then I figured out the speaking business. Then I figured out podcasting. Then I just kept reinventing and evolving. And the more you do that, the more you get confident in, okay, there's uncertainty all around me, but I'm certain in me and I'll figure it out.
That certainty is so huge. And I think back to, I have two little daughters, two young girls, and we love Frozen. And when Elsa is singing Into the Unknown, and how many of us are Elsa right now? And you are saying that, look, I've been there, but the muscle memory, it gets easier.
It does. You become more confident in yourself. And when you're really confident in yourself, you're not so concerned with the circumstances around you. When you doubt yourself, you're dependent on the circumstances around you for security. And that's really scary.
Absolutely. So how did you said you were crying on the couch, and you have a gorgeous son that you are raising. So how did that affect your ability to put on your face for him?
Oh, there was, a good month I didn't. I was a disaster. I mean, anyone and everyone in my life knew I was devastated. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I basically told everyone in my life, I'm claiming this space. Don't come to me with problems. Don't come to me and, ask me to do this or that. I've got to figure out me right now. And this is what, I'm claiming my space. I need everyone to kind of back off right now. And I've got to figure this out. And I went online and posted online that I had just been fired. And I asked for help. I said, hey, if I've ever helped you in my career, I need to hear from you today. And that post brought so many opportunities to me, one of which landed me on the Elvis Duran show, which is how I ultimately figured out I was writing a book.
Wow. It's amazing. And, these little steps in life that happen. So there's a bunch of lady LinkedIn lawyers that we met through the pandemic, literally don't know each other, have never met in person. But today, what's person? Because like a Zoom face-to-face is our face-to-face today. And because I've written a few books, I said, okay, let's do it. Let's put it out. And literally 20 women now are going to be authors. So how amazing that we just say yes to the right opportunities and things happen.
Yeah, I've said yes to a lot of the wrong ones too. Since I've gone out on my own, I partnered with Perry Ellis International, and we were launching a clothing brand, and we worked on it for 9 months, and then it failed. And then I worked with a consumer packaged goods company on a skincare line for 1 year and worked my tail off on that. And we completely shot it in the end. I've had so many initiatives I've worked on that have failed, and I want people to know that too. Yeah, my TEDtalk is amazing and I'm super proud of it, but there were other talks that weren't as good before that. There was the clothing line that didn't work. There's a skincare line that didn't work. There's so many different things that didn't work, so many different pitches that didn't work. So I am proud of the podcast. I am proud of the book. I'm proud of signing with HarperCollins, but it isn't all wins. It's me also saying no to a lot of wrong things and having to figure that out along the way.
Absolutely. So it's really, and you are so honest. It's amazing. And I think that is one of the main qualities that it's like, wow, other people, they hide their so-called failures, right? What we in that moment would say, well, it didn't work. And you were so upfront with it. And I love that because you're really saying like, look, it happened to me and I got over it, and you'll be able to as well.
Well, I just think to myself, I wished I had had a version of me the day I got fired. I wish there had been somebody out there screaming from the hilltops, you're gonna be okay. Here's how I did it. I wish someone handed me the roadmap that I didn't have. And that's what drives me. I know today someone's getting fired. I know today someone's struggling with their confidence and doubting themselves. I know today someone's very uncertain and doesn't know where to go. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I keep writing and keep putting content out and shooting podcasts and, doing my audiobook and writing my new book. I'm doing these things because I know what it feels like to be on the other side. And from a business perspective, I look through everything through business because I was in corporate America for so long. One of my go-tos before I went into any meeting or any pitch was always, what's my unique value proposition? And when I was writing my first book, Confidence Creator, I looked through that lens. I said, Heather, why this? Why you? What is unique about this? And that's what really made me say, if I want to be different than any other book that's out there, screaming from the hilltops, do this, I have to put in every fail I've ever had in my life that I'm embarrassed of or ashamed of, because nobody's doing that. And that will be my unique value proposition. And if you want to sell a lot of anything, you have to solve a problem and be incredibly unique and different. And so I said, from a business standpoint, this is the right model. This should work.
I love it. You know, Heather, you really are pinning on something which I love from one of the women who I have never met her and I hope to, Sarah Blakely, who I know was on your podcast. And her father.
Yeah, I spoke with her. We did an event together last year in September in Boston. And I went to her house actually to interview her husband. She's amazing. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
She seems like your best friend, like a best friend that all of us want. We all want Sarah Blakely to be our best friend. She's just amazing.
Oh my gosh, she rolled into Boston. We were speaking at this event called Hypergrowth at the Wing Theater in Boston. I knew her husband at the time. I did not know her, which can be super intimidating, you know, and I was kind of messaging with her a little bit on social media to try to like establish a connection, you know, ahead of time so it wouldn't be cold when we met in person. And she would respond back nice things, you know, so it seemed good. When she walked into the event and saw me, I ran over to give her a hug, which you never know, someone's a hugger, you know, this is pre-pandemic, obviously, but she hugged me back. She was very nice. And then she says to her assistant, "Hey, where's that bag?" And all of a sudden pulls out this bag and hands it to me. She said, "I wanted to bring you a couple of things." When I got back to my hotel room, I opened it up and I saved it to this day. She had given me this big note that said like, the only risk is not taking one. And I keep that in my suitcase every, you know, trip that I go on, like to remind me, like, go push yourself and go harder. And then she gave me a bag of Spanx, like all these Spanx products. And I was like, okay, this is so my girl.
Oh my God. Sarah, I'm calling you next time. The three of us will do it together. Mama needs to hide that pooch after the 2 C-sections.
So good.
She's so, and Heather, like, it's what's amazing is it's just when we even talk about this story, it is so uplifting. And I think that is the secret to success, right? It's saying, you got this, girl. As opposed to that CEO who, by right of inheritance, which as a trust and estates lawyer, you know, I know the quickest way to lose money is to inherit it and never have worked for it yourself. Your vessel just can't take it. And then you see Sarah Blakely, who is a self-made billionaire, helping women every day feel confident. And the difference is day one, a CEO of someone who kind of just was with a birthright, said goodbye. And a self-made billionaire said, and you can do it too. And I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. And that is the difference.
Well, to me, the real difference is confidence, right? Sarah's incredibly confident in herself. Like, she wasn't intimidated that I knew her husband. I was worried she might be like that because I've had experiences where women, like the one I work for, would, you know, you shouldn't know people she knows ahead of time. You have to bow down and back off. But when you're truly confident in who you are, like Sarah is, she's like, yeah, come on in, like more the better. You know, this is great. I'm cheering you on. I'm happy for you. Versus that other woman that I work for was always trying to pull me back and push me down because she didn't want me to shine bright or she didn't want me to potentially challenge her. And that's really rooted in confidence or lack thereof.
Insecurity. I mean, you know, the light, which I've been talking to a lot of people about, is we have lighting right now. You know, the fact that we might put crap on top of the light and diminish does not mean that the light is not still shining. We just have to extricate ourselves from that. And a lot of people don't realize that. They play a victim role in their life. And I just hate that. I just think you make your reality. And Heather, for 20 years, was in the C-suite. She had been appointed like 3 times promoted. Killing it. I mean, killing it. And then this happened, and look at what you've been able to do. It's unbelievable. It's amazing.
It's a lot of hard work. I wish that I could tell people there is some secret to it, but it really is a lot of hard work.
You know, and that is the greatest point, because I truly believe from like a spiritual perspective, if you want something, it's meant for you. But the missing link is It's not just meditating on your bed and being like, you got to go make it happen. The action is everything.
Yeah, action and stepping into fear is everything. But, that just reminds me that sometimes things just aren't the right fit. Meaning when I was at that company, I was pitching myself the last 3 years I was there. I was pitching myself to be a member of the board because the board consisted of the CEO's college roommates, which meant everybody on the board was 70 years old. And I, as the chief revenue officer, I had a fundamental problem with that. And as a shareholder, I had a problem with that. And I was constantly challenging them, guys, we've got to get, some innovation in this company. We've got to get some younger people. We have to have some diversity. And starting with me, I need to be on the board. I am a change maker. I've proven myself. I'm an innovator. So I was constantly pitching and pitching, constantly being told no, to the point where it felt like I was beating my head against a wall. I couldn't understand why they wouldn't pick me. Fast forward now, and I'm aware that woman was blocking me behind the scenes and saying, no, she can't go on the board. Now, out of the blue, in the last 2 weeks, I've been approached for 2 different board positions. And I knew that I was a valuable asset to any board back then. So it's going back like 5-6 years ago. I knew that. However, I was pitching myself for the wrong one. And instead of saying, why aren't they taking me? I'll go apply for another board position, which would have been a smarter move. I kept just going back for that same one that I saw in front of me. And it all turns out that was the wrong place for me to be.
I love that. And I truly believe that in life, it's either a hell yes or a no. And if you're coming up to resistance and no's, it's almost like, really, it's not about me anymore. This is just not what's meant for me. But this is where I don't necessarily agree. This is an interesting story. When I wrote and self-published my first book, I did everything not knowing if I'm doing it right. So I decided for the next book, I want to go to a major publishing house. I thought, okay, I need to get a major agent if I want to do that. So I Googled to find out who Rachel Hollis's agent was, because she had one of the top selling nonfiction books in the marketplace in 2019. I find her agent, I hunt the agent down, I pitch the agent as to why me, how I'm going to add value, how I'll drive revenue. She comes back and says, you know what, you're not the right fit for me, but I think you are for my partner. She leans more business heavy. I hit it off with the partner. She says, get me a proposal. I don't know how to write a proposal, so I hire someone to help me. We work together for months on the proposal. We go back to Jill. We send it to Jill. Jill comes back to me and says, no, it's not good enough. I said, well, what do I need to do? She says, you need to make it better. This was number 1. I went back to her 15 times, 15 no's, 14 no's. And on the 15th time, where I was wondering, maybe I'm just not cut out for this lady. Maybe she just doesn't get me. Maybe I need a different agent. Maybe I need to go back to self-publishing. Maybe I shouldn't write another book. On the 15th time, she said yes. So there are moments where you are in the wrong place, like I was, pitching myself for that board. But there are moments when you just need to keep tweaking your message and tweaking your approach, and finally you will see it click. I love that. Now, why did you stick with it 15 times?
I really didn't, because I know it's not about the no's, it's about getting one yes. It only takes one yes, right? So when that's sales, and in my head, I know I can do a better job, craft a better pitch, come up with a better approach, communicate more effectively. I can fix those things because there may be a disconnect on the other side that they're not receiving the information correctly. So I just kept thinking, okay, this is my first time doing a proposal. I must not be communicating something correctly. There's something that I'm missing. And it wasn't until the last time when I said, this can't get better. This proposal's so freaking good. I'll go without an agent to someone and pitch it. And that's when I thought, wow, maybe she just doesn't get me. And I did doubt myself on the last one. And I was deciding in my mind, if she doesn't say yes on this one, I'm going to go to a different agent.
And maybe that was the difference, right, Heather? You were just like, look, I'm not asking you to do me a favor. I know this is amazing, and if you don't want the opportunity, then good luck. It's a really energy.
Well, I look now at the difference between proposal 15 versus proposal 1. She was right. It wasn't good enough. And I had to be challenged, and I had to learn. I was a rookie at a proposal, right? I'd never done one before. And so I had to learn and get better, and she really pushed me to do that.
It's beautiful. Heather, on your podcast, I'm going to ask you a really tough question. Who's been your favorite guest?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I've had so many, obviously in person, because for me, it's just, I know Zoom's great as a plan B right now, but I don't care for it the way that I care for the energy of, person to person communication. So it would definitely be one of my in-person guests. And the first two people that just come to my mind whenever people ask me about this, it's always Jesse Itzler and Ed Milet. I love those two guys. I met them separately. I met each of them at their own homes too, which tells you a lot about who a person is when they're in their environment, and you get to meet their people.
Sure.
They were just both so cool. Like my kind of people. I would hang out with them on a Sunday, and they would just, they're just really fun and funny and smart. And I really like both of them. I'd have to say probably those two.
That's amazing. Now, I want to know about your podcast with Gary Vee.
Yeah, everyone wants to know about that.
You know what I love about Gary? I just love everything about him, actually. I mean, he works so hard and puts himself out there. And I also love, he comes from an immigrant family from the former Soviet Union, where my family comes from as well. And the fact that this kid who tells you he got C's and D's could be today someone we want to talk about on the podcast and want to be, it's amazing to me. So what are the greatest lessons, you got from that episode, from doing that podcast with him?
I had him on my show first, and then he had me on his show, and I got different learnings from each one, because of course, Gary doesn't really let you talk when you go on his show. He talks the whole time, and he acknowledges that. He's like, I know I'm not supposed to be talking, but I'm going to keep talking. The first time when he was on my show, he made a really interesting point about parenting and how it applies to business, in that we should look to our children for business strategy and business innovation, because they're ahead of where we are and thinking differently in ways that we wouldn't think. And I thought that was so smart, and I hadn't thought about that. So I started watching my son much more closely after that to see what are the trends, what is he gravitating towards and gravitating away from, and then predicting business out for, forecasting it forward. So I thought that was really smart, that point that he made. When he had me on his show, he said to me to go all in on LinkedIn, and I thought I already was, and he told me I was not. I was posting once or twice a day. He told me to do that times 15. Wow. And that's what his strategy is. He posts, 10 to 15 times a day. And I thought, oh, I can't do that. And he said, you have to do it. He said, I'm promising you that if you do this, it's going to change your business. And he's right. So I started measuring my LinkedIn audience engagement and growth from that point forward. From November to now, my LinkedIn engagement has grown 400%. I have 15 million views of my profile so far this year, which last year I think I had, 2 million. It was not even close. He really helped me 15x my audience and my engagement, and he helped me in a big way.
That's amazing. And so when a lot of people are worried about, well, if I post 3 times in a day, my last post will not get as many views and likes. Really the vanity metrics. And you're saying that's not the case. And in fact, who really
No, it's not true.
Yeah, because you're getting people to your profile.
Listen, here's the thing. You have to test things, right? So I actually hired, Gary has a social media strategist, and I hired him during the pandemic for a month to work for me on business strategy for social media. And he taught me so much. And one of the things is that we have to test different things. So like certain days, he's like, Heather, let's post 5-minute intervals and keep posting and see how that works. Is it going to work? Maybe. Will not work? Maybe. But we have to try. We constantly have to try to hack algorithms. We have to constantly reevaluate. Like he said, I just want to one day only post video, just one day only do text. He's always trying different things. And yeah, sometimes it fails, but there are those moments where you do incredibly well. And then you figured out a hack nobody else has yet. And now you've got your own secret sauce.
What I love about that is you are so confident in yourself that you're not like, I don't care if this gets no likes. I'm testing this to figure out the big picture. This one little post means nothing. It's irrelevant. Yeah. And seriously, people get so hung up about I'm like, what's going on with you? You know, that one little post that someone didn't see and they're not liking, that hits your self-confidence. I mean, that's what you talk about, right, Heather? Like truly being confident who you are.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't get caught up on things like that because there are so many variables. The time of day of the post, you know, what else is trending that day, what hashtag you use. You can't make that about you or reflective of who you are. As long as you post content that's true to you. And if I know I put something, I had a post up yesterday of when I interviewed Jennifer Rubio from Away Luggage, and I shared it. It had been a year earlier, and I shared it. And it did terrible on my feed. And I thought, that's so interesting to me. And so I kept going back and trying to see, I was challenging myself to learn from the bad post, right? I'm like, she's got a big name. Like, why would this not do well? And I was really trying to understand so I can optimize and get better from it. But I didn't take it as, oh, people don't like me or they don't like my content. I didn't think of that.
I love that. And Heather, if we can forecast into the next 3 years, next 5 years, next 10 years, where's Heather Monahan going?
Who knows? Your bet is as good as mine. I mean, it's so hard when I used to be in corporate America, I could have told you very clearly, I will be the CEO of a major company, you know, valued at least $1 billion. It was very well lit, the quarter that I was on and my next step. It was very obvious. Now, as an entrepreneur, it's not. And the difference is if I were to say to you, oh, I'm going to acquire, you know, 5 different companies and I'm going to, you know, be on 7 different boards, and that wouldn't be real because what I've learned so much in the last 3 years is I didn't know I was going to write a book. I didn't know I was going to sign with HarperCollins. I didn't know I was going to launch a podcast. I didn't know I was going to launch a speaking career. I didn't know I was going to be placed on the board. I didn't know any of these things were happening. So for me to now pretend I can forecast what's going to happen next year, heck no. So much is dependent right now on what we will be able to do. Meaning, one of the things I love doing is speaking on a stage. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's my jam.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And so the minute they start saying to me that I can be back out there again, I'm going. Now, how will that impact what I'm doing at home? It's going to impact, right? So I can't forecast those things until I see what, you know, is available to us. If they end up saying, okay, everyone's on quarantine, full quarantine, you know, things get worse for another year, I will have a completely different strategy on how I'm going to spend my time because I can't do those things. You know what I'm saying? So there's so much that is unknown right now. The best answer I can give to your question is I can guarantee you this. I will be showing up as the most confident version of myself. I will be pushing myself into fear every single day, and I will be helping people and showing up as the real me. I don't know what that will look like, but it'll be great.
I love it. I can't wait to see it. And I hope that one day, very soon, those stages are again a reality and that you can be in your element. And hopefully we'd be at an event together and do it somehow together, one on first, you know. And look, to me, it's amazing that you came on. Thank you. And I just love your authenticity. It shines through and really it is helping so many people, Heather. Thank you so very much.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so great getting to meet you and spend some time with you.
You too.